Well, welcome everyone. I am Steve Savant, your host of the Quest for Financial Freedom, brought to you by Brokers Alliance. Need financial guidance? Call Brokers Alliance. I want to welcome everyone listening on the Family Values Radio Network and on the World Wide Web on YouTube, Ustream, Vimeo, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Insurance Forum, you name it, we're on it. You can contact me on my email, thequest@brokersalliance.com, or call us toll-free, 1-800-290-7226. It's not what I know, it's who I know, and that's why my special guest on The Quest is EMSI's top-of-the-line gal when it comes to parameds, our dear friend Carla Jensen. Welcome to the show, Carla.
Thank you, Steve. I'm glad to be here.
And they say, what is EMSI? Well, we're going to be talking about a Valentine's special all this week, and I don't know what else can say I love you like giving life insurance. I mean, think about it. Everybody's going to be giving Valentine's. I already did my duty. Did you already take care of your spouse?
I did, of course.
Way to go, Carla. And I took care of my gal, and we're going out tonight, and I got flowers for my daughters and flowers for my gal. I've been married 36 years. It seems like I've never been single. But today we're talking about nothing says I love you like life insurance. I mean, that sounds bizarre. And why do we have Carla on today? Because when you're going ahead and purchasing life insurance, you have to have the ability to pass exams so that they can take a measured risk on your life. It's so funny. When we thought about this last week, we talked about this. In the second half of today's show, of course, we'll have Eric Palmer back on with us. But Eric and I were talking about Sir Edmund Halley, who actually built the first actuarial tables in the late 1400s. Oh, actually, was it about 1492? And he built actuarial tables that we still use today, and we measure the ability to price a person's life on an analog timeline. It's pretty outrageous when you think about it. And now we use exams by EMSI and other great parameds, and today we're featuring Carla's company. EMSI and parameds measure blood and urine, sometimes EKG, sometimes other tests, so that we can place the better your exams are, the cheaper your insurance is. I mean, this is one of those few things that you actually have to have good health to get, and if you have really good health, your price tag goes down. Well, Carla, let's get into it. If I'm going ahead and I'm going to purchase life insurance, my agent's going to tell me I'm going to be visited, and not by the Tooth Fairy, not by the Cupid on Valentine's Day, but I'm going to be visited by a call from a Paramed service. In this case, we're going to highlight EMSI, a nationwide, by the way, Paramed service throughout the nation. And remember, 250,000 producers are listening to this show, that we distribute this show every single week. And if you're looking for a Paramed service, look no further to EMSI. I'm looking at this great I love to get prepared to take an exam. I just thought people would just take an exam. But first of all, the thing I want to tell everyone is this is so cool because you can have this exam at pretty much almost any location. Now, for example, you want it in the privacy of your own home? That's great. If you want to meet them at your office, that's great. I've heard it's not so great, Carla, to meet at the gym after you just worked out. Is that true?
That is very true.
We'll talk about that because I've always thought, you have Arnold Schwarzenegger type of a guy getting buff in the locker room, right? And then you send your gals in to get the urine, the blood, and so forth, and all of a sudden his protein levels are through the roof, and we think he's got an issue. But that's not the problem. Talk a bit about that.
That's right, Steve. Actually, by exercising right before, you can spill protein into the urine, which shows an elevated protein level, which you can be rated for that on your insurance.
So he could be really in great shape, but because they took the exam at the wrong time.
Absolutely. We recommend to refrain from exercising 24 hours before your exam.
Now, not to be too Valentine's today, but do we mean all physical activity, Carla?
We actually do, Steve. All physical activity.
I don't think I need to explain myself, but I think you get the picture. I think you get the picture. We're talking about Valentine's today, and if you're taking your exam tomorrow on the 15th, that was a bad time to schedule your exam. Okay. Well, let's talk about some of these other things. Now, avoiding coffee before you take the exam. What does caffeine do to skew the numbers?
Well, caffeine is actually a stimulant, and it breaks down and affects your glucose levels. So you can be rated for having elevated glucose levels.
When really just the caffeine's causing it,
Right,
nothing else is
right.
really
And
elevating
had
it.
you waited just 24 hours or just a few hours before you had your coffee, you would not have had those levels.
So what's your recommendation? How long should you wait before you're taking an exam?
24 hours.
So you want them to stop 24 hours. I also noticed that you have a regimen here of drinking water 12 to 24 hours out from your exam like crazy. What does that do for the body?
Water will actually flush out any toxins that are in your system, and it also plumps your veins, so that especially if you have a difficult blood draw, if you have tiny veins, it'll plump the veins and make for an easier draw.
So if I really hydrate myself, I never heard that phrase before. I'm plumping my veins. I love it.
You are plumping your veins, and also...
I felt it was something like a heroin addict. You know, I'm plumping my veins. You know. But so that'll really help. And then another thing I noticed here, you said, I noticed that people like me, I come off Christmas and I go right on a high protein, very low carbs. And I think I'm doing myself a favor. I'm losing weight, I can see it. But if I take an exam while I'm on this Atkins-like protein-driven diet, what can that actually do on my skewing of my numbers for my exam?
Well, it'll actually show your body in a state called ketosis. And that is where you are actually burning fat for fuel, which is a good thing.
That's a good thing.
Yes, except ketosis is what a diabetic's body shows in. So it can show that you are actually a diabetic or have those tendencies when in fact it's just a high protein diet.
So that's weird, because I would have thought, you know, prepping for an exam, you're trying to lose your weight, trying to get the build ratio down, your height and weight ratio to a nice place. Because remember, all this matters on an exam because it's going to play. We're going to get into this in the second half with Eric about how they parse your exam and how you land up on some health category. There are so many categories to talk about, and it all has to do with what our exam results come back with. Now, I noticed here, not only do you want to stay away from, you know, like we were talking about working out and then eating a high protein, but some carriers actually say you shouldn't really be eating, you know, about 12 hours out, period.
Right.
Now, what's the thinking behind fasting that 12 hours or so before your exam?
Well, that'll actually lower your cholesterol levels, and it helps you so that your blood sugar levels are lower as well.
So if you were if you could be a couple days out, you would start pushing back from your normal cholesterol sugar intake that you may take, you know, like if you're a candy fiend, like some people I know. And so in about 12 hours out, you're really flushing out these issues, and you're going to get a little lower cholesterol number. You're going to have some better, what else besides my cholesterol? Is something else going to be reflective in that as well, besides maybe my weight?
Your fasting blood sugar could as well, and it could also increase your blood pressure. But it's best to eat like oatmeal, Cheerios, salads with low-fat dressings 24 hours prior to your exam.
So the Cheerio oatmeal thing is not a myth.
It is not a myth.
It can actually lower your cholesterol.
That's correct.
Okay, in the wintertime, we're doing Nothing is Better for Thee Than Me, and in the summer, we're doing Cheerios. Hey, can I have Honey Nut Cheerios?
You can.
Okay, I'm golden. I've noticed some other things here, though, Carla. I'm disturbed. You could be taking some herbal products that actually in everyday use is really a good thing, but as far as exams, it's not a good thing. And I was looking at your list here, like you're taking this herbal product called St. John's wort, which I'm assuming is not about wart removal.
That is right. It's actually most commonly used to treat depression.
St. John's wort, you mean, so it's not, it's kind of Prozac-like?
Kind of, yes.
Wow.
In a natural way.
Well, what's this other one? I'm looking at your list here. It's called Sal Palmetto?
It is, and that is also one that's used to treat depression and also an enlarged prostate.
And it reduces the absorption of iron?
Right.
And so what's that going to do on your exam?
It's going to show you as anemic.
So like you're really, your iron deficiency?
Right.
What about this ginkgo, ginger, and garlic? These are three popular, well, some of them used for cooking, some of it's for herbal treatment, just as a good dietary kind of regimen. What happens if, because I always thought that was a good thing to take these things.
It is a good thing, but it can increase the risk in some people of bleeding.
No, so if you're taking your exam, of course you have to draw blood, and if you were doing a steady diet of this on a regular basis and you drew blood, you would maybe, once they drew the blood, you wouldn't stop.
Now, and that is for people that are already taking anticoagulants.
Oh, so that's a specific area.
Right.
If you're taking anticoagulants, that's an issue.
Right.
So we're just trying to prep ourselves. Now, I've heard a lot of, myths, reality checks and so forth. This is kind of like that show, Mythbusters on television. Let's do Mythbusters. Is your blood pressure coming out of your left arm less than the blood pressure going out and into your right arm?
That is a myth.
Oh my gosh, myth busted. Okay, so you're saying that pretty much it's going to be about the same, but you draw both sides. I mean, you actually take both sides.
We do. Very little difference, though.
Now, I've also heard reality or myth. If you take an EKG, and by the way, shockingly, Paramed Services now come to your home, office, wherever you need to go, and they carry a little EKG machine. They don't call it portable medicine for nothing, right?
That's
so
right.
They come with a little EKG. They hook you up, right?
Right.
And I always thought you better not lay flat on your back because that might actually cause unwarranted T spikes in your EKG. But what do you say?
That is a myth. It is actually best to be laying flat.
So it is best to be laying flat.
It is.
See, now I would have thought otherwise. And what about taking your urine sample first thing in the morning? As soon as you get up out of bed, the Paramed service shows up, EMSI shows up. Is that the best time you can get urine exam?
Actually, no, we recommend the second sample.
Well, why is that?
It just varies on what is flushing out of the system from that night sleeping before, so you're going to have a better, cleaner sample.
Yeah, I would have thought that the first thing out of the chute is as pristine as it's going to get. But you're saying no, you'd rather have the second.
Right.
Well, I want to thank you for being on our first segment of our show today, Carla. I mean, you're opening our eyes, you're prepping us, and remember, we want to take great exams and have great results. And why? Because I don't want to pay any more for my life insurance than I have to, and it's all dependent on these exams. Coming up next in our second segment, we're going to have Eric Palmer back. Hold on to your term insurance price tag. You're listening to the Quest for Financial Freedom. We'll be right back after the break.
Economists call the first 10 years of the new century the lost decade, where most Americans experienced a level of unprecedented financial loss. But some savers and investors found one sector of products that actually made them money. Products that were guaranteed, tax-advantaged, and backed by some of the biggest names in the business. Now, focus on the returns on your money without worrying about the return of your money. For over 30 years, Brokers Alliance has maintained one of the largest inventories of guaranteed and tax-advantaged products in the country and serves a nationwide network of financial professionals